So this is what we're talking about. We are going to be talking about generative AI, a lot of different issues there. And when you think about AI, a lot of times, and particularly if you're using an AI to build a deck, you'll get mysterious little videos like this. Oh, it's computer, but it's all. But the truth is, that's not the way to think about AI. That's the way people think about it. That's what science fiction-y. That's the way you do it. To me, really, the way you should start is like this. AI is a tool. AI is a tool like a VCR was a tool back in the day, like a scientific calculator is. So I think we really need to think of it as a tool that does some pretty amazing things, but it's a tool. It's not like the future and all that stuff. So that's it. And notice on the side, you have a tiny URL. That'll give you access to every slide in this deck. So you'll see it all. You can also get all the resources that I use and show and did to build this deck. And this deck was finished about an hour ago because that's how fast AI can really change. So that I'll show you, I'll leave up for a second and you can get that. And I think Paul's going to put it in the chat as well. Let me say that when you do these kind of things, one of the things people like to say is, well, what about you? And can you show a picture of you from you first started teaching and all that kind of stuff? So here's a little bit of the bio from me. I've been in education for 30 plus years. And after all that time, I left public education in California to join Discovery Education, where we built a teacher network. And those were great tech users, people that were early adopters, and it was really a joy, and still is, to work with that group. I did write the first classroom computer grant when I was teaching in LA Unified, which I did out here, started teaching a while back. I think I was the first big room speaker to talk about AI. That was 6 years ago at TCA. So now everybody's talking about it, which is great. But I was doing it before it was cool, just so you know. I did leave the math classroom to teach remotely, and that's probably enough time for you to have gotten the URL or taken a picture of the QR code. So as I said, they like to say, we'd like a picture of you to put on the web or to start yourself with. So they said, you know, I don't need a picture, but do you have a picture of yourself maybe from the faculty yearbook, the first year you taught? And I do, I found one. This is this is me, the first year that I taught. Again, it's really a long time ago, and we did our yearbooks in Mosaic back in those days. So they were really heavy, but they hold up really well. Anyway, so obviously this is generative AI. I use DALL-E to build this. I'll show you how in a second. If I ask ChatGPT for a bio of me as a Babylonian teacher, here it is, and you can see that I was dedicated. I worked in and I had a beard of wisdom, which my wife made me shave. So there you go. But that's some of the things you can do with ChatGPT, which are pretty fun. So to find out who you are, and you may know who you are, but this is for the deck, so have a good time here. This is, again, I went back to DALL-E, which is from OpenAI, the same people that do ChatGPT. And I asked, in order to set you up so you had a place to answer in the chat, the prompt is, a Sherlock Holmes detective with a magnifying glass in a background of question marks looking through a magnifying glass directly at us, in the style of, and here are the three styles that I tried. I wanted photorealistic, Vermeer, and digital art. Now notice that the prompt is the same, except that in the style of changes. Also notice it's kind of a long prompt. So unlike Google and traditional search engines, the longer the better when you work with the prompt. And we're gonna talk about that in a second too. So I'll let you kind of decide. What do you think? Paul, I'll let you be the ultimate decision. Do we want it to be photorealistic? Do we want it to look like Vermeer? Do we want a digital art version? Paul, what would you say? I'll let you be the arbiter. Would you rather do photorealistic, Vermeer, or digital art? Which of those appeals to you?
I like the digital art.
Digital art. Okay, good. I do too. So here it is on the slide. So please put in the chat who you are, and then that will help you kind of define and help me look and see who we're talking to here. So administrators, teachers, parents, students, all those are different ways to do it. But you saw how I built that graphic in a slide, and that's DALL-E. And those links to ChatGPT and DALL-E are in the Google Doc. They're in the Google Doc. So let me just take a peek and see. There we go. Fifth grade teacher. Good. Laughed out loud. Like it. Good. So here it is. Thank you for doing it. So elementary, presume secondary, and also some administrators. So I'm going to, because we have 90 minutes, we're going to do a lot of stuff, but I wanted to make it a little interactive. It's the afternoon. If we were in person, we'd probably get up and dance a little bit just to get our brains going. But I'm going to do a quiz, and you can score it yourself, but there are points, and the points will get you a prize at the end. So, you can self-score and just keep track of your scores. 10 points if you get the right answer. So in 2022, Google, this is true, suspended an AI software engineer. Why? For purposely generating wrong answers, for changing the order of the colors in Google to be alphabetical, claiming their internet chatbot was sentient, might have a soul, fired for using Bing at work, or knowing that Bing existed. That's which one of those things you think, put in the chat, do you think Google suspended an engineer for? Someone famous at the time, and the answer is, and here's the score, you can get if you get it right. The answer is, the claiming Google's internal AI chatbot was sentient and it might have a soul. So that's kind of interesting. There's belief for that among many people, and anyway, he was suspended for a while. Here's a look at that resource doc. It's a Google doc, and there's a tiny URL. And again, all the slides in this presentation, the whole presentation is there, plus all the links. You see a ChatGPT to DALL-E, so it's great if you can sign up, if you can do that and still stay in the Zoom, because those accounts are both free. There are other accounts, we're not going to look at any of that, are not free, but we'll talk about whether or not we want to get some of the non-free services for our kids. That's what the doc looks like. And again, last chance to see that QR code and the tiny URL, which hopefully Paul's going to post again in the chat. So here's our agenda. We did our little intros, which is great. We are going to first look at an opportunity for California students, and this is probably only for California students. Then we're going to look at AI use in education. I'd love to hear your own uses. Excuse me. I'd love to, and we'll decide whether yes or no to use AI in education. Now, this should be a no-brainer, but there's still districts that are struggling with this, and schools. Then we're talking about how generative AI got so smart. Then we're going to talk about prompts, talk about ethics in the law, and if there's time, we're going to talk about Ed's important role in AI careers. As educators, we do have a responsibility, and in summary, we need to diversify the AI engineering pool. The way that's going to happen is in schools. We have kids and we have students, and those students may need to know about AI careers because except for a tiny few, no one has an AI engineer in the family. No one said, oh, my grandfather's an AI engineer, I really want to keep doing it. No, it's brand new. So that's it. That's our agenda. Here's the thing first that I do want you to be aware of. The California Student Media Festival, which is the oldest continuous festival in the United States. It's 58 years old this year, 2024. I've been working with it for decades, certainly decades. And here's why I show you this, is because back in 2020, we had an artificial intelligence category. That means a student or a teacher that have used AI for a project or developed an AI, or there was a bunch of different things that you could do, but there was an artificial intelligence category. Again, this will be the 2024. So 4 years ago, 4 festivals back, we started doing that. And this is the one that won back 4 years ago. And this is a group of 6th graders that built their own chatbot. I don't think they thought it was sentient, but they built their own chatbot. And I'll show you a little bit of it, but they designed this codex using a Python coding language. And as you can see, what they wanted to do was help 6th graders who are a little nervous about getting into middle school, because middle school is a whole different game than if you're in a 6th grade in this particular school, you're in you have one teacher, some special teachers come in and out, but that's sort of it. So here's what it looks like. I'll talk about this a little bit. I thought we would still So you can see the whole video. This is a little piece of it. You can see the whole video if you go online and link to it to the media festival there. Anyway, so you see that they built this chatbot. Look at just a little bit more. They built those questions. So it comes in, kid interacting with it. My name is Kodak. I'm here to talk to you about middle school. Then it asks a series of questions to get to know the student. So the student will trust it.
Okay, now I can't really hear you.
Oh, okay. So I thought I had turned that off, but you saw a little bit of that. Essentially, that code that they use. Actually, I can go back and let me turn that thing down so I can talk over. I went through this. It must be on another slide as well. I bet it is. Let's take a look. So, and thanks, Paul, for saying that. So this should be no sound. Yeah. So here's you can see sort of what they did. They built in a series of questions. They did use a code collaborator, and they explain on the video how to do that. But this is what it does. It's an AI. Now, here's what's interesting about this is they had to code this AI, and they used kind of an assist for that, as you can see. But ChatGPT just released in their new version this month a way to build a chatbot without any coding. So that's how much it's changed since 2020 when these people won. And you say, anyway, it's a pretty cool, it's a chatbot thing, but kids built it, sixth grade kids built it with their teacher, great and remarkable teacher. So that's how it works. Last year, we also had winners. These are two of the people that used AI to build their project. It was a project to help the students find somebody they were compatible with, which is kind of cool. And again,
we're not seeing your slideshow.
Say again?
We're not seeing your slideshow.
Oh, okay. Paul, I'm so glad you're there. Let me go back. When I went back to change the volume, then you didn't see, which means no one saw the coding. I'll pop just a little bit of the coding in. Here we go. Thank you. Here we go. Let's make it big. So this is what the coding looked like. And I think you saw it a little bit, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but there we go. It's pretty cool. And again, ChatGPT now will let you, this is with the paid version, will let you build a chatbot without any coding. So that's how fast this does move along. These are the two of the students that used AI to do their entry last year, and they built a program using a graphical AI to help people find compatibility. So that's pretty cool. And notice that these are not what you typically think of as AI engineers, right? Supposed to be, what is it, a guy in a lab coat? Who knows? But we can bring AI to students, not only as a tool, but maybe as a career. And that's one of the things we can do in education. I think it's pretty important. If you like the idea of the media festival, be a judge. You can judge the AI categories. You can judge all the categories. It's free. You have about 2 weeks to judge. You only judge, we give you 5, I think, to judge. You have 2 weeks. The judging process, the videos tend to be shorter, may take you 2 hours, but it's a really good way to look at project-based learning. And it's a good way to look at what kids and teachers are doing with AIs, in addition to 3D printing and video making and music videos and stuff like that. Anyways, it's a great thing. So we can look a little bit at what administrators are doing already. Then I want to hear what you're using, but this is, I was at an administrator conference and we were talking about ChatGPT, and this is a few months ago, and they were already all over it. So here's what they're using it for.
I used ChatGPT last week for the first time. I had 6 letters of recommendation I had to write, and I was able to do them in about an hour. They were better than anything I could have written on my own. And ChatGPT took the job description and then the relevant skills on their resumes and made beautiful letters for these people that deserved them.
So how cool is that? Here's another administrator.
ChatGPT, excellent reference letters, analyzed my data for my LCAP, wrote my transportation plan. If I don't know how to start that letter to that parent, I have ChatGPT do it for me, and there you go.
So the LCAP, as you may or may not know, is the school plan. These are public school administrators, school plan to justify funding, et cetera. Here's another one, and this is an interesting one. This was the district music supervisor, person in charge of the academics in music, and he's also a songwriter, and which is perfect kind of gig. And here's how he uses it.
One way I've used ChatGPT is for suggestions on writing song lyrics. And what I found, even as a longtime songwriter, is that the artificial intelligence was able to pull out some real human elements like hope and joy, and I found that useful.
So that's the short version. He waxed on about it for a long time. It's pretty cool. I think it's very.
I used ChatGPT last
week
week for the first time.
That the AI had added hope and lots of human emotions that were not in his song lyrics. So he was very good about that. So here's in public education, you have to inform people in your district whether or not they have a job, and you have to do that by March 15th. So you have to write letters and tell people they are or they are not coming back. This is one written at the Napa County Office of Education, and there's two versions there. One was written by an AI. One was written by the county staff. So take a look at that. Here's one of them. You're hereby notified pursuant to sections 44949 and 44955 of the Ed Code, blah, blah, blah. And the other one, dear colleagues, as you're aware, we regret to inform you that. So which one of those was written by an AI? What do you think? Which one is which? Paul, you want to take a guess? See, I'm picking on Paul. And I can tell you
I think B was written by the AI.
And why do you think that?
Because having used AI before, they tend to be more conversational and they don't start off with the legalese like that.
Right. So this was, yes, you're absolutely right. This was written by a human. I think it was a lawyer that's worked for the county, and the superintendent said, "There's no way I'm sending this out to people to tell them that they're being terminated next year." So she put it into ChatGPT and said, "Could you please make this a little nicer, a little more human?" Again, it's the prompt that you put in there that makes it do what it does. We're going to get to that. But as you can see, the AI, just like it did with the song lyrics, made it a little bit better. So that's pretty cool. If you're interested or want to ever check to see if something you got was written by an AI instead of a human, GPT-0 is, they like to call themselves the #1 AI detector. You can paste it in and it'll analyze it and it'll tell you either it's written by a human, and there's that letter. It says this was written by a human. You're aware we regret to inform you about. Oh, excuse me, that was written by an AI. The nice one's written by an AI. Here's the way it does it: burstiness, perplexity, and all that kind of stuff. And here's the one written by a human. You're hereby notified pursuant to. It recognized that was a human, and the nice one was an AI. So it did pick it out. Now there are other ways. This is out in August of this year. This is the top 10 AI detector tools for 2023. So this, if you're worried either in a school environment with student work that comes in, or you're getting letters from somebody you do not know, you can do this. And some of these are free, some of these are for free. And this is from eWeek. But I think, again, if you're using AI, put it in the chat. Paul, if you're using it, I'd love to hear what you're using it for. So this is what you heard what administrators are doing. And if you go online in social media, you'll find lots of teachers saying lots of great things about AI. But if you're using it, let me know. And if not, what would you use it for? Paul, what would you use it for if you haven't used it for before?
I use it to help generate flyers and to generate emails.
There you go. Useful too. You find it useful, fast and useful?
Useful. Yeah, we use Constant Contact to reach out to people. So yeah. It saves me about 45 minutes every time I need to send out an email. And then it takes me 2 minutes to go back through and do some minor editing, but
yeah. And some of that, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's very useful.
And part of it is, it's the stuff that's a pain to try to do, like a letter of recommendation. You want it to be good. You want it to, so we thought about it. Well, it's a lot easier if you do it with an AI. Now, so here's the question. We'll do this quickly. I'd love to see it in chat, but should students be allowed to use AI for classwork? This used to be a very serious debate, particularly among college people, post-secondary folks. What do you think? Paul, I'll ask you again, but anybody else can jump in too. What do you think? Should students be allowed to use it for classwork? What do you hear at the county office?
Well, I haven't heard much discussion around the county office, but I think it would depend on the use. Having not spent a ton of time thinking about it, I imagine there would be some uses that would be supportive to education, and some that might be, akin to plagiarism.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. And plagiarism is an issue that always comes up. Building an AI plan is something your school will probably have to do. I'm speaking not to Paul, but to the participants. You're probably going to have to develop an AI plan. There's a way. I have a link in the document about how to go about building a school plan. To me, the answer is pretty obvious because, as you know, I think of this as a tool. Did we use when I taught math? This is how old I am. When I taught math, the big debate when calculators came out, these are 4-function calculators, not the fancy ones. It's like, should kids be able to use it? And there was a hot debate about that at the time. Some teachers said, oh, no calculators. You have to memorize the times tables, and you have to memorize it. And we have times tables up in the classrooms, and we cover them up for tests. You have to memorize. Well, within a year, we're all writing grants to get to get scientific calculators for everybody's kids. So I think it's a calculator. I think it's really good. And that's how it works. By the way, using AI, kids using AI is not a new issue. This is the thing going back 2015. Here's the early use of a student as AI. Here we go.
Alexa, what's 5 minus 3?
5 minus 3 equals 2.
Boy!
So busted by his mother, right? The Alexa, which has an artificial intelligence and was one of the early ones, the smart speakers, he was using to do his homework. There was a way back in the olden times when we talked about AI, and it's still true, your kids can write a program for Alexa. It's called a skill, and they can build it on their machine. And then it's a good thing to do because if they build a quiz, for example, and the quiz information is wrong, how did it get to be wrong? Well, you go back and look at, it's not code, it's very conversational stuff. It's easy to do, it's template based. You can get it at blueprints.amazon.com. Do a search for it, but the templates in AI. And you will, they will go, oh my gosh, we put in the wrong answer. I mean, we checked the box by the wrong answer instead of putting the check by the box of the right answer. So Alexa thought that Paris was the capital of Germany. It's like, no. So they recognize early that it's kind of garbage in, garbage out. So that's a good thing to do if you want to start that way. So again, question number two. Remember, you're scoring this yourself, 10 points if you get the answer right, and give me your point totals at the end. So match the quote. Who said, that's Stephen Hawking. That's Stephen Hawking on the A, who said success in creating AI would be the biggest event in human history. And who, A or B, said, Alexa, stop, play Old MacDonald. And yes, the answer, the PowerPoint advanced itself. It wanted to get to the quiz answers, I guess, but yes, it's B. That's who said, you match the quote with the speaker. Hawking said number A, Alexa said number B. Oh, look, it's advancing itself. How clever. This is talking again about whether kids should use it or not. Back to that point, again, there's an evolution. So Ed Week, New York Times, and Wall Street Journal all have reflected, and it's clear that the evolution of this question is going to be yes. But that's what it is now. So that's it. And here again, you can put in the chat what you say, and we can have this discussion. It would take a long time. If we have the time, we can go back and do that. But I'd love to hear in the chat what you think. If kids, and we talked about it a little bit. Paul said, hey, in some ways it could just be plagiarism. Some things else it's going to be right. So here's my take on it. I think, I spent a lot of time on that animation, by the way, that it's a great leveler. If you have a kid that's not a good essay writer, that's not good at some things that involved a literacy skill, and we know this, there's a lot of those kids that fall into that. This can do that job for them. There's no reason why a kid shouldn't use every tool they can to write a personal essay for a scholarship, to do other things. It is a great leveler. So you think, oh, I don't know, what if it's plagiarism? And here's the answer to this. It's a one-slide answer. Just plagiarism is not new. The way that we use other people's material, which is called research, and is totally permissible. It's a thing we teach kids to do. Go to the library, go online, find a source, and use that to make your decision about whether the American Revolution was a good thing or a bad thing in terms of, anyway, however, but you have to cite your sources. So this is the MLA style for citing AI sources. And you can, again, it's your call whether you want kids in your classroom or your school to have access to using AI. But if you do use AI, you tell them, just like if they use music, just like if they use a quote, that they have to cite it. So if you use AI, here's a way to cite it. And you can see for paraphrased prose, like the question is, describe the symbolism of the green light in the book. Well, that's a thing that teacher may have asked a kid to do. So the kid asked ChatGPT to do it. And there's the citation. Now, hopefully a kid that's done the research and has ChatGPT help, that they've also read the answer, so they know what the symbolism of the green light is. Word cited list entry is another one. 200 words described. That was the prompt that was used for ChatGPT. So you just cite it and go, here's my 200 words, and there's a little, the little footnote that says, hey, I got this from ChatGPT. Now, if a kid, if you want them to have essay writing skills, that is terrific. It's a secret, but I did teach language arts for a while. I like math a lot more. Let me just say that. God bless the people who are grading those papers. And by the way, lots of startups now are trying to, some of these are in the handout, are saying we can let ChatGPT or another AI grade those essays, those long essays for you. And of course, you look at it before you give it back to the kid. But composition teachers read an ungodly amount of reading. Student writing, and it's hard. It's hard to read a lot of student writing, as you know, if you're a literature teacher. So do we want kids to use ChatGPT to help them write essays if they're not good essay writers? I think you do, just like with math, you do want them to develop the skills to know how to do calculations mentally, to know how to write an essay so they know how to do that. But boy, if you've got a high school senior who hasn't learned to write essays and has to, for a job interview, for the summer, for other stuff, and they want a resume, for heaven's sakes, I think, again, it's your call, we should show them how to use ChatGPT. So 200 words describe the Great Gatsby. You look at it and go, so come here and let's talk about this. Do you think this is a good explanation or a bad explanation? And again, you help them get better at using that particular tool. So OpenAI, who does ChatGPT and DALL-E, has done teaching with AI. The link is in the chat. I find this not to be compelling, but there is the part that's good, and that's they give you example prompts. So to me, the best part of their whole, hey, here's how to use it online. Some of it's like remarkably doesn't address what it's like to do the kind of teaching that you do. But this part is good. Example prompts. So you can use it for role playing, use it for building quizzes, use it to reduce friction for non-English speakers. So that's a lesson plan that might be exploring, or teaching students about critical thinking. So those are some example prompts that in the OpenAI resources for teachers. So that's good. And again, those are in the doc. So when we're done with this 90 minutes that you have, and hopefully if you're watching now, great. If you're watching from the future, meaning you're looking at the recording, then remember you've got that doc with all this stuff. And the doc, you're going to need a case of Red Bull, or maybe a bottle of red wine to go through it all. There's a lot of great stuff in there. Anyway, so here's a decision. We're not going to talk about this now. It's a whole other conversation. But ChatGPT, a lot of graphic generators have versions that are not free, and some of them are really killer good. So the question is, one, we have school budgets. Do we really want to get an academic account, to get an institutional account for an AI? Q, a lot of you know Q, Computer Using Educators, used to be called. They have a license so that anybody on their staff can use it. Anyway, some of the graphic stuff, the paid ones. And I'd love to see in the chat if you're paying for something now. So the question is, do we want to add this to the budget or not? There's free stuff. Kids can learn with the free stuff, but do we want our kids to be using the simple function calculators or the scientific calculators? And that's going to be a decision we're going to have to make. Do we want free? Do we want the premium version, which is, as we'll see, getting much better. It's kind of little known, but OpenAI and other things are losing money on with every account. There's so much computational power necessary for this, and you've got to have all this bandwidth. So they're not making money, just the way Amazon didn't for years, and Uber is trying so hard to break even. That's what they're doing now. So think about the paid version. Anyway, that's it. I think for our kids, that's the real question. Which one do we want them to do? Should just the kids whose families can pay for an account? Should they be the only one? Should they be the only ones that have access to it? That's one of those questions that we can talk about. And if you have an opinion, I'd love to see it in the chat. Again, at the end, if we have time, we can have those discussions. But this is a decision that will need to be made. So you take it as advanced warning, right? When you do the plan, when you do your school plan about AI use, which you're going to have to do probably for next year, maybe for next semester, then this is another decision to weigh into that. All right, so how did it get so smart? How do these large language models get so smart? Here's one of the things. This is me. These are the books I have in my house. Big reader, love books. That's the little library. That's the stuff by my bed that I'm really trying to read. These are the other pile of stuff I really want to read, but I haven't. This is my Kindle. So the thing is, if I read all the books in my house, how smart am I? If you read all the books in your house, because I know many of us have books we haven't read, are you smarter? Well, here's how large language models work. They've read all those books, and 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 those books, and you get the idea. It's read a huge amount of material. And I'll give you the actual metrics for that in a second, but imagine reading all those books. And it has, in addition to that, AIs have the ability now to listen to podcasts. You know, they're digital, they're online. You got it. Blogs, radio, and you see the books, online books it's read, including sources that are maybe marginally okay, like Books 3 in the pile. They've now taken down some of these, but that had books that no one that you should be paying for, but somebody digitized and put them online. So that's something to think about. But AIs have done all of that. There are AIs who have been watching YouTube. That's how they learn language models and things like that, is by watching a whole lot of videos. So that's how it got so smart. And in fact, ChatGPT 3, you can see here. Quit doing that. I'm sorry. I got to go back to PowerPoint and keep starting it. They trained it with the equivalent amount of data. I think the data is in the handout, but that a person would have to have 500,000 lifetimes to read. That's how much data was used. The average person reads X amount in a lifetime if they did nothing else but read. I'm saying not the average person. If a normal lifespan, you did nothing else but read, you'd need 500,000 lifetimes to use the models that they built ChatGPT 3. ChatGPT 4, which is, they keep upgrading and upgrading and upgrading, increases that number by about tenfold. So by next year, we'll have read more than every living person who's ever lived, which is now currently 500 million lifetimes it would take to read ChatGPT 4. So think about that. That's how they're so smart and how they got where they are. And again, what's the difference between 3 and 4 plus? About $20 a month. So that's the difference. ChatGPT 4, you can talk to, you can point stuff on the phone, and we'll look at some of that stuff. So that's the way it works. This is breaking news. This came out yesterday. So OpenAI, which was funded by, in large part by Microsoft and by people like Elon Musk, is now beginning to eat away at Google's search engine. The Google search engine does something like 94% of the searches. That's their big revenue generator. As you know, if you search, who goes to the top, sponsored links, all that kind of stuff. And rough math is that about every time they lose a percentage point, they lose $1 billion in potential revenue. So they're building their own AI, and they call it Gemini. And here's, this was the Sundar Pichai, who lists himself as the CEO of Google and Alphabet, and was playing yesterday with Gemini. So here's this, and I'll be quiet. We're looking about 2 minutes of this, but it's him talking to Gemini, and you can see that Gemini has a camera, and Gemini's able to look over his shoulder at what he's doing. So there's now things out. I think they're about $600. They haven't shipped yet, but you pin to your, maybe you saw that you pin to your chest, and it has a camera, and you talk to it like you'd talk to your cell phone, and that's an AI with a camera. So this is Gemini, their search engine, and it has camera capabilities too. So here's the CEO playing with it.
All right, testing Gemini. Here we go. Tell me what you see.
I see you placing a piece of paper on the table. I see a squiggly line.
Anyway,
What about now? Yes.
A duck is a type of waterfowl in the family Anatidae. Ducks are closely related to geese and swans. The duck appears to be blue. This is not a common color for ducks. However, there are some breeds of blue ducks. These are typically not as common as other duck breeds. It is more common for ducks to be brown, black, or white.
Are you sure?
What the quack? I was just talking about a blue duck, and now you're holding one. It looks like blue ducks are more common than I thought.
Can you teach me how to say this in a different language? And give me a few options. Ooh, can you explain how to pronounce the Mandarin one? Is it Yazi?
Yazi is pronounced with a first tone. In Mandarin, there are 4 tones, which are essential to distinguish the meaning of words. The first tone is a high-level tone.
Oh, okay.
The duck is in the middle of the ocean. There is no land nearby for the duck to rest or find food. It is unlikely to find ducks here naturally.
Okay, based on what you see, come up with a game idea. Oh, and use emojis, please.
How about this? We can play a game called Guess the Country.
Sure, let's do it.
Clue 1. This country is the home of the kangaroo, the koala, and the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, that's easy.
So it's
Clue 2. This country loves football
Australia.
and has won the most men's World Cups in football history. Both are food. The orange is a healthier choice than the cookie. Citrus can be calming, and so can the spin of the fidget toy.
So it's
This is a
making
picture of a
connections. Here's the
crab.
idea. They're finding similarities like
That's right.
you do on an IQ test.
Is this the right order?
No, the correct order is Sun, Earth, Saturn.
Which looks more fun?
The one on the right, because it has a loop.
What do you think this person might be saying?
How about a woohoo?
Ooh, I love that.
I see you're drawing a guitar.
So it then plays guitar. It creates guitar music.
You've added an amp. Now it's an electric guitar. We can make some seriously loud music now. Given that you added drums,
A little bit
how
more.
about some 80s hair metal? All right, I see you've added a palm tree to the drawing. Change it up with some beachy vibes.
What movie are they acting out here?
I think they are acting out the famous bullet time scene from The Matrix.
Ooh, nice. Okay, I've got one more for you. Describe the drawing I made.
It is a simple line drawing of the constellation Gemini. You did a good job of capturing the beauty of Gemini.
Nice. That's it. I think we're done.
So that is and there it is. The link to this whole video, I shortened it a lot, is in the handout. So, and maybe Paul will paste that link one more time, the Google Doc. So this is, that's Google. And we can talk about some of the things that it did, but it recognized pictures, maps, fruits, foods, without entering anything in a search engine. So I didn't have to say, what color are ducks? I didn't have to say, could you create some heavy metal music and so forth. It did it automatically. When you drew a guitar, it created guitar music for it. When you drew an amp, put an amp with the guitar, it created electric music. So there are music generators now that your kids are already probably playing with. This is the next level up in AI that you don't have to say, give me symbols. But, if you played with GarageBand and love GarageBand, and we hope kids create their own music rather than just taking it in. But it's a sign of the level of intelligence of AIs now that if you just draw a picture of it, it'll give it to you. So you don't have to go in and select the percussion, the level of the beats per minute, things like that. Is it good for kids to do that? Yes. Would kids do that? Yes. Some kids will not be happy with the music they get by drawing a guitar instead of drums and a palm tree. They'll go in and learn how to do it themselves, which is really important. So this does not stunt them, I don't think. I think it gets them started, which is why we like the ability of AIs to help kids and, again, to level things out. So there's no reason for a student who enters their project, for example, in the California Student Media Festival, to ever have to use a Beach Boys song, unless they happen to love the Beach Boys song and they want to cite it and do all that stuff. But they could create music of their own. And that's sort of the way it goes. So let's talk about how to use an AI. So an AI is like, those of you who are as old as I am, remember VCRs. A VCR is only good as something you put in it, right? It just sits there until you put something in it, and then it can do stuff for you and help students, and you learn about places and lots of other stuff. Kids today have no idea what a VCR is. What is that? What's in there? But one of the things that it shares with AIs is you want the prompt. So the prompt is the cassette you put in to the VCR that's the AI, if you get the analogy. So that's it. So we're going to look at prompts. An AI will do nothing, and it will do things not so well unless you learn how to build prompts. And this is one of the skills that a kid, certainly in 2 years in schools, certainly in 5, will be doing. Now, the only way that's not going to be true is if the AI does stuff for it. And we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. There's easy ways to use AI, but let's talk about what the prompts are, just the basics of it. So this is the picture that I did. My prompt was to get that picture, which made some of you laugh at the beginning, of me as in my first yearbook, I asked for teacher ancient Babylonian mosaic. And I played around with some other stuff, but that's what I did. And notice that this is the prompt that I've got nouns, I've got adjectives, and I've got a medium. I knew I wanted a mosaic, right? Because it made it funny, haha. So it gave me DALL-E, which is free, although I did pay the $15 for extra stuff. This is what it gave me. It gave me 4 choices. Now notice that the choice on the right doesn't look very Babylonian. It's maybe a Babylonian background. I don't know, but this is what sometimes people call hallucinations by AI. It's like not at all what I wanted. But it did that, and you can then pick one, and it'll keep going back and doing more versions of the thing that you want. That's a good thing about prompts. I think I did. So it gave me 3 that maybe I would work with, and I think I clicked on the center one and said, give me some more. When you see anomalies, let's call them hallucinations, like the picture on the right, that's one of the reasons why people begin to think AIs are sentient, because sometimes they'll give you something you hadn't even thought about, but it's perfect. Whoa, was it thinking? Probably not. I mean, it's looking at its data and pulling stuff up, but sometimes it's very serendipitous. So it's kind of spooky what these can do. And they're trying to every time they do a new iteration of the AI to make it less spooky. Try to give you more control. Anyway, it's very interesting. You want to drive it crazy. Some programmers figured this out. If you ask it to repeat the word pile infinitely, eventually it starts to go nuts because it's doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over, and it starts spilling its guts, sort of, and you kind of see where the training came in. Anyway, so here's another fun prompt. Somebody asked for every US president as a Pixar character. So there's the president, there's a visual style. You have to be careful with this because you don't want positive or negatives. You don't want judgment of some presidents positive and judgments for some presidents negative. Here's what it looked like. This is kind of fun, huh? So this is every president as a Pixar character, and it came up with it pretty quickly. So that's DALL-E. And if you want to see where this originally came from, it's from Dan. I don't know Dan, but thank you, Dan. It's from his Twitter feed, and the direct link is in there. So if you want to go back and explore, but notice that the prompt was a lot of fun. Let's go back and look at it again. every president is a Pixar character. That was it, and it gave us these. Now, some of these are more Pixar-y than others, I think, if you look around. So you might be able to say the same prompt, but say make Barack Obama more of a character, because it's almost just a portrait for him. Anyway, that's how it can work. So that's a prompt. If you ask for a prompt for Teddy Roosevelt as a trust buster, you might get something like this, because, you know, tough, strong, trustworthy. This is not what Teddy Roosevelt looked like, but you can manipulate prompts and get sometimes things like this. So this is, we're looking now at graphic generators, because it's easier to show in a format like we're in right now, you and I are in right now, than text. We're going to get to text too in a minute. So here's another thing that's fun. This is DALL-E. This is their, at the time, what their homepage looked like. And you can generate images, but you can also upload an image. So the superintendent who had done the work on the AI on the letters that we saw earlier is Barbara Nemko. And I said, hey, listen, you want to see some new stuff with DALL-E? Send me a picture. So she sent me this picture. She didn't have a lot of pictures of herself. This is her at ISTE, I think, several years ago. So it was not even a new picture, but I took it and I uploaded the picture to DALL-E. So then you see there's an eraser tool there. So I erased everything else. And you see it's kind of blurry because I had to blow up the picture so much, but that's the picture that I used. And I erased everything else. And then I said, what do you want as the prompt? What have you always wanted to be? And she said, I always wanted to be Tinkerbell in green flying over a vineyard. You know, it's Napa County, Superintendent Napa County. So it gave these 4 choices, which is pretty cool. And again, look at the prompts. Tinkerbell in green, fairy hat flying over the vineyard. So again, the more detail, the more likely you're going to get what you want to get. Unlike, as we said before, a Google search where lean is better because it starts to go crazy if you give it too much. This is the more the merrier. So that's the pictures of her. And I said, which one do you like the best? And we could debate about that, but there's her. She looks kind of buff. And she said, I've never worked out with weights in my life. So that's the AI filling in it. And if you notice, her hand is kind of messed up. It's not as good as anything else. And that's because the way that generative AIs work is they go out and look at the stuff that they've scanned, the stuff that they've learned from. And if you look at photos, hey, how many of you have photos online? How many of you have Google Photos online? Do you think it could scan those photos? Yes, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. But when you scan a photo, maybe you have people holding hands, right? Maybe you have, and so that means the hand is going to be a little different. Maybe the fingers look fatter because it doesn't know one hand from 2 hands. That this is 2 hands, doesn't really know the difference between that and that. One of the famous things is you see a lot of 6-legged cows, because if you ask for a picture of a cow, it'll go back and a cow stands on 4 legs, but there's maybe a cow behind it. So if there's a cow behind it, maybe it looks like a cow is supposed to have 6 legs, 8 legs, things like that. So that's how it learns, is by looking at the data that's ingested. Remember, it's ingested a lot of data. So this is now where we get to the point where you say, well, maybe my kids in the graphic arts class should have access to a better version. Anyway, that's how it works. I asked for myself for a Jedi warrior like Obi-Wan in a photorealistic style. This is what I got. Kind of cool, right? Trying to look stern, but it added all the other stuff, which is kind of neat. So, and I think if we were in person and you'd come preloaded with DALL-E, you might have a very good time uploading a picture of you or maybe someone in your family to surprise. And you say, I'd like to see them as Santa Claus in a photorealistic style, Santa Claus in a Vermeer, or, whatever you want to do. Holidays can be a lot of fun. This can be a lot of fun too, but that's how prompts work. If you go to their site, you'll see this. Again, look at all the stuff. There's nouns, verbs, adjectives. The longer, the better. They wanted, this person wanted a photo of a Samoyed dog with its tongue out holding a white Siamese cat. So it looks like a photo. It's not. It knows what a Samoyed is, knows what a tongue is, knows what a Siamese cat is. Siamese cats tend to have blue eyes, right? So there you have it. And these are not photos. These are not, if you do a Google search for photos, you get photos. You do a generative AI and ask it, it generates, get it, generative, it generates a photo. So this is generated, not pulled from anywhere else. And if you ask it twice, at least the last time I tried, for the same thing, it'll give you different photos. These are not photos, but it could give you different things. So it doesn't remember what it gave you before, unlike Google, which remembers the stuff you do, so it can make itself better for you. You can get AIs now and tell it to remember stuff. We're going to talk about that too, but generally it generates stuff every time. So that's how it works. What do you think? Put in chat, might have been the prompt here. I was trying to get an image like the image in the center top. What might have been my prompt? What do you think my prompt might have been? Put it in chat if you can, or just think about it. What would my prompt have been to get all these images generated? And again, this is the free version. And Paul, you know, I'm going to ask you, so you're going to have to tell me. In the meantime, look at the chat and see, what do you think the prompt might have been? And I'll show you. But Paul, what words do you think I would have used in my prompt to get those dragon pictures?
Fire breathing dragon.
That's good. That's safe. What I wanted was something as close to the center top as possible. So I did this dark digital art rendering. So this is the whole thing. A menacing Game of Thrones dragon. That told it what kind of thing I wanted. So it gave me that. And again, I kept adding more and more to make it look like the image that I really wanted. Now, when you see me using, or when you use yourself, a thing like Game of Thrones, that triggers a certain kind of search, and that's going to get into some of the legal ethics we're going to talk about in a second, because Game of Thrones is an intellectual property of that we need to start paying attention to. Anyway, here, so prompts are hugely important. And I'll go back and look at the chat and see if somebody was also doing a prompt for the dragons. Prompts are good. If I want to tell kids how to do prompts in a class that doesn't exist yet, right? Prompt engineering class, we do one semester for high school seniors. Doesn't exist yet, but good and bad prompts are cool. So I asked ChatGPT, give me some examples of good and bad prompts. So here's a bad prompt. What is evolution? Too vague, and it tells you why. Too vague, less specificity. Better, explain the concept of natural selection and the role in the process of evolution. Anyway, so again, a longer, you can read it. I'm not going to read it to you, but, and again, remember, all these slides are available to you in the doc. So if you go to that doc, and I'm sure Paul just keeps pumping in the freebie, and I'll show you at the end, the tiny URL where all this stuff is. The longer and better, the longer the prompt, the better. So this is, it's a longer list, but you can ask it to give you good and bad examples. Now we're getting to the part, though, that I think is going to be inevitable in the use, and that is using AI to use AI. Now, if you go to ChatGPT and you look at the bottom, you've got settings. That's me. That's my ChatGPT, and I can do custom instructions. So if you're a 5th grade teacher with an emphasis on language arts, you're the language arts special that comes around at the elementary school, you can tell ChatGPT that. And it'll always go back and build it into the prompt itself without you even having to do it. Where are you based? What do you do for work? If you tell it you live in Anaheim, and later you're, let's say you're a 9th grade social studies teacher, and you ask for examples of stuff, it's going to be able to pull up stuff from the Ducks, you know, the sports teams in Anaheim. Maybe you'll like those, maybe you won't. It'll be able to know the weather typically that's there. So there's a lot of stuff that will make your prompts longer without having to make your prompts longer. You just front load it into custom instructions in your version. Again, this is the free version. So that's the beginning of using AI to use AI. That trademark phrase, please steal it, but that's mine. Use AI to use AI. What can that mean? It means things like this. Because prompts are a new skill, it can be hard to do. So you have the AI help you with the prompt. So let's say you're looking for a crazy image. You've done a picture, a poem about flamingos and beaches and things like that. So you write this prompt. Group of people playing volleyball on the beach. And it's boring. You paste it not in ChatGPT, you paste it into DALL-E or another generative AI image generator, but use ChatGPT to help you build the prompt to put into DALL-E. So you get the idea, using AI to use AI. So you write this prompt in ChatGPT, but you tell ChatGPT, hey, help me with this prompt. Give them more details. The idea should be crazy. Group of people playing volleyball on the beach. So you're asking ChatGPT, there's the original prompt, but you're also saying, hey, give me some more details. And the idea should be crazy. What do you think? Then you paste that into DALL-E, and it gave, you prompt this is the prompt that ChatGPT helped me write, and then you get this image. So that's kind of cool. ChatGPT added the sun-kissed beach with a giant pink flamingo. That was ChatGPT that came up with that. I didn't write that. The author of this prompt didn't write that. ChatGPT added that. It's like, hey, you want it to be crazy? How about a giant pink flamingo? That's crazy. So that's ChatGPT's idea. So now, if you've got the need for a wacky image about the beach, people playing on the beach, or let's say you're using it as a writing prompt, right? Writing prompt. Tell me what happens next. Describe this scene. Well, I could show you a regular flamingo, but isn't this more fun? Like, think about it. If you're a student, how do you describe what's happening there? And your imagination starts to go crazy and crazy. But I got this image because ChatGPT, that AI, helped me write a crazy good prompt for what I wanted. So again, on the left, you see the original prompt. Then you see what I told ChatGPT to. This is not my prompt. So what somebody else typed. They said, please provide more details in this text. The idea should be crazy. And group of people playing volleyball on the beach. So ChatGPT said, hey, how about a giant pink flamingo? How about blah, blah, blah. So ChatGPT's prompt gave us a picture. So what a nice story prompt that is. How crazy, as opposed to having to go to Google search and pull all this stuff together and build an interesting picture. So that's how it works. So use AI to use AI. Here's how I've helped you. What you can build is a prompt library. And I talk to librarians about this all the time. If you have a librarian, one of the things they live for, their mission is to build resources that help do stuff, for teachers and for students. So you don't have to have a librarian do this. You can do it yourself, but you do want a prompt library. A prompt library will help. For example, if you are, again, that teacher in Anaheim, and let's say you like the Rams, the football team, you can put that in, and then it will give you prompts that are better about that. So here's what I have posted for you in the handout. This is a prompt to put into ChatGPT. So all you have to do is copy and paste this. So again, if we were in a room together and everybody had ChatGPT, you could do this because the prompt is in that doc I keep talking about. You scroll down, there's like 3 starter prompts and then links to a bunch of other great prompts, but this prompt helps you write better prompts. So if you're watching from the future, now you want to pause the recording, go to the doc, copy this prompt, paste it into ChatGPT, and see how much better your prompts get. So here's what you tell ChatGPT. Remember, this is you giving it instructions. And these instructions you can copy and paste. Sometimes, by the way, these prompts, you have to do it twice. Like ChatGPT somehow didn't get it the first time. So you just keep doing it until it gets it. This one I've never had trouble with, but you never know because they keep tweaking these generative AIs. So you're telling it, I want you to be my prompt creator. And this is one of the things that's really important is you give the AI a role. I want you to be my prompt creator. Or you can say, if you have a problem about pest on roses, I had a problem, I like coleuses, something was eating it. Am I eating all the leaves? Like, what was it? Well, I don't want it to be a prompt engineer. I want it to be a gardener. I want you to become my pest control gardener. Here's what's happening to my coleus. Tell me what prompt I should do. Anyway, so I'm telling it up front to be my prompt creator. Your goal is to help me make the best possible prompt. So you're telling it stuff. They have found out that if you put emotion into your prompts, ChatGPT actually responds better. I'm lost. I need you to help me become a better prompt creator. Those kind of things actually work. But here it is again. You copy and paste this, but here are the big points. Your first response, you're telling ChatGPT. The first thing after I type in a prompt is you telling me, hey, what's this about? And then it will generate another prompt. And you can see what it is. Again, you don't have to read or even understand this. It's nice if you do, but the basic point is you're telling ChatGPT to keep making your prompt better by asking you questions until you get a prompt that's killer good. So you give it a prompt, but you've already told it with this copy and paste, you've told it, I want you to make sure I write a great prompt. So you put in your prompt, it reads it and makes suggestions. Then it gives you a new prompt. So you look at that and you say, keep going, create a new prompt, ask yourself that prompt, and then ask me some questions to make it better. So it does that. And I'll show you how that works. Anyway, you keep it going to do it. There it is. Oh, look, that's the one from Santa Rosa from the librarians. But that's what you're going to look for. The examples of good and bad prompts. And prompt number 1 is help me build better prompts. So it's in that doc. So here's an example. My first prompt was working with librarians. How can a librarian use ChatGPT to improve literacy? So I'm asking ChatGPT how to use itself to improve literacy. But remember, the first thing I did was paste in that long paragraph of instructions. Then after that, I said, how can a librarian use ChatGPT? So it kept coming back with other stuff. Here's the sections. I asked it for 3 sections. Here's three sections. So suggestion, define what specific reading skills you want to improve. Outline potential uses. These are really good suggestions for writing a better prompt for what we were going for, which is how a librarian could improve literacy with AI. So this is already a much better prompt. And we hadn't thought about that. It's like we took it for granted, but which reading skills? Which improve literacy? Literacy is this giant box of things, right? Which one do I want? So it got better and better and better. There's the revised prompt, the first one. How can a middle school, because what grade level are you? I forgot to tell it that. How can a middle school librarian use it to improve student reading skills, right? For reading skills. Anyway, it kept getting better and better and better. And then it kept giving me more and more suggestions as ChatGPT helped me write a better prompt. And then once I was happy with it, I could do these are suggestions. I could really get a very concise plan of what to do. I think we did a 15-minute, we had the kids for 15 minutes, a really good plan for improving literacy skills in the library using ChatGPT. So that's what it looks like. It keeps giving you a revised prompt, and again and again and again, because it doesn't get tired. So there's the prompt again. And now we're going to look at something that's not ChatGPT. Because here's one of the problems is, remember that, and we'll talk about this more later, generative AIs hallucinate now and then. They tell you stuff that's just not there, which can get you in trouble. So this is not ChatGPT, which can do that. This is Bard. So this is Google's version of ChatGPT. Think of it that way. It's their AI. They've all been working on AI for a long time, remember. So this is bard.google.com. It's in the handout, but this is what you want to do. And then you're searching in Bard. Here's why this is really cool. We wanted to I wanted to give the challenge to build a reading list for kids. I think it was about AI, but let's see. So I'm sorry. When this is what I did for school librarians. We could all do this, right? This is what ChatGPT, this is what Bard said. Let me go back and show that again. This is Bard. When the school librarian is a leader in AI use, I asked what happens if the school librarian's a leader. It gave me all these possible outcomes, all of which are great. Ultimately ended up saying this, these are the ways that it should be done: support students, advocate for use of AI. These are the things that Bard said I should be doing. Okay, so that's good. I ask it, and we'll get to more about Bard in a second, but that's how you can use AI to help use AI. This is from Q. Joe Marquez, who's great at this stuff, and I did a session for Q one time, and he built this Padlet. And, I built these resource papers. He built a Padlet. It was great. People came in, but you can see that there are a lot of prompts, ChatGPT prompts, that people wanted to share. Here's how to create some music. Here's how to do this and that. You're a 10th grade biology teacher. So these are prompts that have already been built. So if you go to the Padlet, and you know where the Padlet is, I bet if I ask Paul, he'll be able to tell you. You know where it is. It's in the resource doc. So this is, when you go and look, this is me doing a screen capture, but you get the idea. Look at all these cool prompts. So there's some very, very cool prompts. There's other stuff in there as well, presenter resources, stories and comments and things like that. So this is a great resource. Thank you, Joe Marquez and Q. There's the Padlet. You can go in and take a look at it. I like this one. I noticed you're now the top researcher and expert on Benjamin Franklin. You've read every book on Benjamin Franklin. From here on, answer every question as if you are Benjamin Franklin. So your kids can talk to Benjamin Franklin. You know, when you go to Disneyland or other places and you see the presidents and they talk, and the new ones, the AI generated, can actually answer questions. You ask them a question and they'll answer it. Well, that's pretty cool. Way better than just Lincoln staring at you, right? This way kids can talk to anybody that you help create. So I want to make sure the prompt is very good. So anyway, great ideas there. So I wanted to do this, build a reading list for 6th grade female student with a Lexile score of 600. So this is kind of a little revision. I knew that, you know, you ask for a reading list, it'll say things like, what's the Lexile score, what grade, things like that. So I did this, and ChatGPT gave me this. These are age-appropriate books suitable for a 6th grade student with a Lexile score of this. And you can change around the Lexile score and things like that. But these are things like this. And notice if you say generate again, it'll give you another list. But remember, and I bolded these, but remember, it doesn't remember what it told you before. So you can look at new stuff. So here's more books. So it gave me those books. Thank you, ChatGPT. And I ask again for where you can read the prompt. These are Spanish speakers. I have to move my Zoom stuff, or I can't even see my own thing, but this is again a Lexile score, home language is Spanish and so forth. So I did this. Notice that there is some Spanish in there, but these are books that I would not have been able to help get. It wouldn't have occurred to me to do these, right? Here is again a different prompt, different languages. So here's ChatGPT said these. This is a tailoring a reading list to reflect Armenian heritage. So you see what ChatGPT said. So it gave me a reading list. Then I wanted to see what would happen if I did it in Bard. And this is what I'm getting to. So ChatGPT can do it. You can go back and look at it if you want. Again, we can look at it just for a second. There's ChatGPTs. You've got some stories. Here's Bard. The books are, for the most part, different. But here's why Bard is cool. At the very, again, Armenian language, at the very bottom, you see that little G. So after your search, after you've asked the generative AI through its prompts for specific things, it gives you this. But here's what Bard does. When you click on that G, it goes and checks itself. So it Googles everything that it told you. And then it will verify stuff, because now it's got verified stuff on the web. It generated these things and made them up, right? Generated these lists, but then it checks them. And when you do that, the stuff that is verified is highlighted in green, and the stuff that's not verified, stuff that may be hallucinations, are done in orange. So it looks like this. So I ask it to do that, and you can see that some of the books that it adds, like it says, Moses, a man of the Nile. This book is a historical novel. Maybe that's not true. It couldn't verify that in a Google search. The others, it's sort of, okay, this is good, but there's some other stuff here, like these stories, the Armenian language stories. Some of those, remember, the highlights are from Bard itself. I didn't highlight these. Bard highlighted them. And if it's orange, it's questionable. So I might want to pull that book or do more work on it, things like that. So it means that you're less likely to get burned by something that's just wacko if you do it this way. Now, remember, we watched that video on Gemini, Google's next iteration of they're going to build into Bard like this. It was doing some pretty cool stuff. It knew a duck was a duck when I was drawing it, although I cut out some of that. It needed information like water, and colors and things like that. But there you go. So this is Bard as opposed to ChatGPT. This was posted by Google. Bard from Google are also the folks that gave you Gmail. Could you search your own data using Bard? Could you go in and just like ChatGPT and Bard will go out to the internet and search for information or to help generate pictures or essays or letters of recommendation? Could it do that just in your own data? And the answer is yes. So here is Bard looking through someone's Gmail account. Here we go. This is posted in September.
It's hard to make an idea come to life when the information you need is in different places. But now you can collaborate with the world's information and your own, all in one place with Bard. With extensions, Bard can now connect to Google's apps and even gives you the option to pull in your own information to make it all come together.
For example,
Like when you're making a plan. Or when you're prepping for the big day. Or when you want to make sense of something.
how cool that is.
Bard can even help you make memories.
Wait, so you get the idea.
Pull in the info you need just when you need it, so you can keep your ideas moving forward with Bard as your helpful collaborator. Try for yourself at bard.google.com.
So thank you, Google. So what you saw was that you can search for that email. And I don't know if you've done this, but I certainly do it all the time. It's like, somebody emailed me about something, and what was it? I don't remember who sent it, or Crazy Hat Day, right? They forgot the school sent out Crazy Hat Day stuff. So they asked for all the events in their Gmail about that elementary school, and it searches and searches and searches. So that's pretty powerful. Again, that's free. So more information, we have to talk about this, but ChatGPT opened a new web crawler. So in the old version, you couldn't get stuff before, or excuse me, after, I think it was 2021. I don't, you can correct me on that, but it wasn't up to date. It couldn't give you new information. The paid version could, but now it's got a way that it can control the web. So that's it. All right. So again, questions. If you get it right, give yourself 10 points. 10 points. Here you go. Which of these countries? Remember, we just saw a chat that will go through and look through your data. Is that scary? Maybe. Is it doing it anyway? Probably. But which country is building a system to ensure that automated processes are fair and transparent? Which of those? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just put it in the chat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which of these countries is building a system to ensure that everything's fair and transparent? Many job resumes, by the way, are never read by HR. The rejections, the AI rejects your stuff before it gets to a human being. You have a job opening and it's got 2,000 applications. No HR department's reading those. They feed it through an AI, and that simplifies it. So you could get rejected and never have a person actually read your resume. Which country? The answer is China. China. Number 3 is correct. So if you said China, if you put in number 3 in the chat, give yourself 10 points. Okay. So here's the actual building. If you don't read Chinese, here you go. Cybernetics Administration of China. We're a little behind on this in the US. We are starting to build laws. New York did. That's what it looks like. There are laws, and they're in the chat. Hopefully we'll get to them, but I'm not sure. Excuse me, in the doc. There are laws now in New York, for example, that says if you have an AI that's doing things like searching through resumes, you have to monitor yourself and post that on your website. There are people who say that you shouldn't use an AI for job resumes, for example, unless you're told, like you will be read by an AI. Companies don't do that because then people don't apply. They don't want them being read by an AI. But again, transparency, they do in China. Here's the danger of that. Again, this was earlier this year. A lawyer used ChatGPT to write a citation, but remember those hallucinations. So it knew from what a lawyer's brief should look like, wrote it pretty clearly. But when it came to citations, it didn't actually pull citations. Remember, it's a generative AI. It generates stuff. So it generated fake citations. And the lawyer didn't check it. So he turned it in. Judge was not amused. I think he fined him $5,000. Yeah, there it is. $5,000 for not only him, but his partner too. And because the other lawyers, of course, are looking for these citations, and they don't exist because it generated them, it made them up. So that's a legal thing. This is the blueprint for AI Bill of Rights, which is about as badly named as you can think of. It looks like the AI should have a Bill of Rights, but no, this is our rights that should govern AIs. But is that not the worst title? Anyway, this is to govern AI use, no algorithmic discrimination. This is hard, but if we monitor it, we can catch it. There have been some really, not time to talk about it, but cases where the generative AI really, or the algorithm that it was using, made some stuff that was not very good, just because based on skin color, based on hairstyles, based on clothing. Anyway, you have to be careful and smart. It's why we have to make sure we have our kids going into a diverse range of kids going to become generators. Anyway, the how to do it. This was last year. We're a little behind. Here's those schools. New York City says you're going to use for hiring tools. You need to monitor that and tell us how it works. So those are legal issues. All these are covered in greater depth in the handouts. You can go look at these links yourself. Again, here are the legal issues: generative AI and copyright law. All this stuff is out there. There's book 3, which was where a lot of stuff that was copyrighted was posted online, which meant the AIs could what's called scraping, could go scrape through and find Sarah Silverman's books, for example. And so Sarah Silverman, it's one of the legal cases, we're going to get to that. A student said, hey, you're using my stuff. So this is more stuff and things to think about as we get closer into ethics. Maybe we'll have another hour just to talk about the ethics and things like that. But these are there. And again, the key things are the things we've talked about. So it's a good thing to have as a discussion. Remember, as you plan your school's policy on AI use. So again, you don't have one now, probably. You are going to need one by next year. So when you start to make the AIs the policy for your school, these are things you want to do. What about AI indemnification? What about, so the AI indemnification means if you do something on ChatGPT, this is OpenAI, on ChatGPT, and you get sued, they'll cover they'll assume responsibility for the legal cost. In other words, you aren't going to be liable, they're going to be liable. And believe me, if you're going to get sued, they don't care about you. You don't have enough money, but boy, OpenAI or Google or Microsoft, they have a lot of money. So these are those guys, these are these companies telling you they're going to let them sue us. We're the ones. So you're off the hook. That's what they're trying to do anyway. So things like that. So read those cases if you'd like and see more stuff. Here's another interesting case. This is now done by the Copyright Office. This kid wrote an AI generated comic book called Area of the Dawn. He used he wrote the book, and then he used graphical design like DALL-E. He didn't use DALL-E, but like that to do the illustrations. So instead of having a comic book artist, he used a generative AI. And the question was, can he copyright that book? And the US Copyright Office said, you can copyright the book, you can't copyright the images, because in the US, legal copyright ownership has to be done by a person. Only a person or a group of people can hold a copyright, not an AI. So the AI, so an AI generated thing cannot be copyrighted because it's not human made. So you can't copyright the images, but you can copyright the whole book. Yay. China this month said, oh no, in China, you can copyright the images that you make. Well, which is right? What do you think? Which is right? Should you be able, if you build this killer prompt and you put it in and get this great picture like that dragon picture, who should they be copyrightable? US says no, China says yes. Now, what's the difference? We can talk to our legislators because they can pass a law that does, this is just the Copyright Office. Copyright Office responds to the Constitution, responds to law. So we could pass a law, but right now is what they said. So here's Greg, not my friend. I mean, I don't know him. I'm sure he's a friendly guy, but he did the picture next to his name. And this is the one that I made. I made the one underneath, but people were doing this. And Greg said, when you do a dragon like this, and you ask generative AIs to make a dragon with fire in the background, with its tongue out, all those things we built into that prompt. Thank you for sharing your part of that prompt. Then he said, it's scraping my stuff. There's nothing else out there that looks like this except my stuff. So it's borrowing my stuff. It's not making it up. It's stealing it from my stuff. It's remaking it, but it's stealing it all from my stuff. So that's yet to be decided. There are other cases that have sort of come to court. We'll get some of those in a second. The authors have done the same thing. If you say, I want a best man speech as if written by Sarah Silverman, right? She's a comedian. Her books are online, so they've been read by the generative AIs. If they do that, then they'll give you a great, funny best man speech, but it's because they did it for Silverman. So Silverman sued. This is a music version of that. Silverman sued. Skip this. Silverman sued. I thought I had the slide in there, but it just came out. It's probably in the docs online. And the first judge said, this is a really bad looking case, and I'm not inclined to go with you on this. So the first iteration, they rejected Sarah Silverman's case. They basically said, nope, you haven't made it really clear that what you're saying is true. So that's it is. ChatGPT, again, the legal cases is Apple won't let you use a GPT powered app if it's going to violate your privacy. Remember that you can search your own Gmails with Bard. Could a company build something that could maybe search your Gmails whether you wanted to or not? Probably you could do that, but you're not going to be able to put it in an Apple on an Apple phone. There's that's how it works. All right, I think this is the last question. We've got a little more to cover, but we'll do it. So, which is again 10 points if you get the right answer. Bots. What's the original root word of robots? When was it first used? 1, 2, 3, or 4? 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? Which one? Elon Musk's first word as a toddler? Which is the first one? All right. So the answer is, Paul's going to come and tell me that the hook is coming. The answer is this. And a lot of people get this right. I don't know how they know. This is the first time bot is used. Author Richard Meredith. Anyway, another responsibility for school. We're going to go through this quickly. This is all in the handout, but these are all the jobs that didn't exist when these kids were in kindergarten. So way up a thing to do. It's not just the future of work, but the now of work. So leaning toward thinking we should be teaching kids. This is a video you can see, but there are actually jobs for prompt generators that pay $200,000. And no one's got 5 years of experience doing this. So you can apply. Anyway, this is a Wall Street Journal author that did a video about how she applied for the job and what happened. Cool. Anyway, take a look at that. Again, you don't have to have a college degree to be able to do cybersecurity and stuff like that. Good things we can do. In the chat, in the document, I have given you several interviews with a diverse group of people who are in the software business, the AI or cybersecurity software business. And these are interviews, maybe 2 minutes long of each one, and they're passionate about their work. I could show you some of these videos, but they're all online. They're all out there. They're all free. Take a look, because if you show these to your classes or you let kids go and look at them themselves, which is a good idea, then we might inspire more people to go into prompt engineering or AI privacy, things like that. So think about that. Anyway, there they are. This is from the STEM Square Coalition. All of this stuff is out there. It's free. AI researchers, Microsoft engineers, Minecraft engineers. These are all jobs. They all have information about the salaries. They have interviews with passionate professionals. So please, let's get these out there and show those to kids. We don't have time for this video, but it's a woman talking about, is there bias in artificial intelligence? Yes, there is. So these are the organizations that are trying to fight that bias. So take a look at those if bias in algorithms is the thing that you're passionate about. Okay, we are to the end. And I think you're ready for the pledge. So Paul, if you'll turn on your camera so I can see if I do this right, I would like you to raise your hand, please. All right. So everybody, raise your right hand and repeat after me. Are you ready? Paul raised his hand. Thank you. Here we go. I solemnly swear. Paul. I solemnly swear.
I don't solemnly swear anything until I know what I'm swearing.
Oh, there you go. When I return to my school, I will identify or become the artificial intelligence coordinator. The job consists mainly of paying attention. So if you've taken this pledge, the only thing coordinators have that you don't have is a name tag. So anybody in the chat right now, and this is only December 7th, so if you're watching from the future, I'm sorry you're out of luck. But all of you people here are here. If you will send me your email address, I will send you that artificial intelligence coordinator badge. Magnetic, very cool. You pin it on, you can walk around and go, I'm the AI coordinator. Or you can go back and designate somebody and go, I need you to be the AI coordinator for our school or our district. And when you do that, I go, well, okay, here's your badge. So all you have to do is email me. There it is, hdavis@discoveryed.com. I will mail you free of charge this AI coordinator's badge. Magnetic, very cool. And I spare no expense. Anyway, that's it. So we are now through with the graduation. Your AI coordinators now. Thank you very much for being here. If you're doing it from the future, thank you very much for pausing the video, I hope, and going out and exploring. Please explore with ChatGPT and have a very good time. Thank you very much, Paul. Thanks for all your help monitoring the chat and becoming my straight man. Thank you.